Dun, 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 dun. Insert the music here. Insert the music here. All right, and good evening, and focus. Focus. Okay, there we go. Nope. Try me, computer. Try me. All right, it'll try. Good evening and welcome to Merriwether's World, my planet, my rules here for an hour as I try and reattach you to nature and all its fabulous miracles. I am your host, Dr. Mark Merriwether Vorderbruggen, author of Idiot's Guide Foraging, creator of Foraging Texas, medicine man at the Medicine Man Plant Co. Medicine Man Plant Co. And all around scientific egomaniac. All right. Good evening. So tonight, I didn't think I was going to be here, but here I am. Thought I was going to be out in Austin a little early to shoot some video for Medicine Man Plant Co., but that got delayed. So here I am, and I thought, hey, let's talk coffee, because coffee is pretty much my lifeblood. And why won't you focus? Focus. Is that focused? No, it's not focused. Oh, well. So yeah, coffee. And really when I talk about coffee, I'm talking coffee substitutes. Things that you can drink pretending they are coffee. All right. As usual, before I start, I got to do a little housekeeping, some upcoming classes, things like that. And also using the new format where I break up the sponsors throughout the show. So without further ado, though, let's talk about me and Foraging Texas. So don't forget, if you pop over there, and you will see a lot of it tonight. Did it go up? Oops. Okay. Why not? So yeah, Foraging Texas website. That is the focal point of the Foraging Texas empire. From there, you can get everywhere else: the Amazon store, the YouTube channel, Instagram, all of that. Medicine Man Plant Co. It's all there. So that's good. Upcoming classes, got a bunch of them now that the fall season is here. Go and check it out. Mostly in Austin and Dallas. The one Houston event is October 17th, and that one is already filled up. But the November, December classes are pretty open yet. So there's that. Oh, cool. We got lots of people here already. All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So I guess I should also point out, of course, Medicine Man Plant Company, because that's what pays the majority of my bills. And let me tell you, a bill is an expensive thing to have. So, yep. All right. So, and of course, disclosure, I make money if you buy some of these items. What a shock. All right. And if the Medicine Man isn't enough, there's also a link here, if I can just throw it up quick, to the book, Idiot's Guide Foraging, 70 plants, big multiple pictures, mimics, North America maps, everything you need to know to properly identify and use. Hey, okay, I got to say hi to someone here. Hello, Dennis. Man, it is good to see you. Dennis is my cousin. Yeah, it's been a hard, I'm going to go sideways here for a second, hard for our family lately. Last week, of course, my aunt Dolores, Dennis's mother, passed away. And also our mutual aunt Evelyn, who was married to Dolores and my mom's brother, Ray. And then, of course, my mom with the strokes and all that. So crazy times. But hey, Dennis, man, I miss you a lot, because we had so much fun blowing things up together in childhood. Okay. So there's that. Yeah. Oh, and for those of you, just going to put it out there. If you want to wear cool Foraging Texas gear, of course, right now I have my Wazoo survival gear on, But if you want to wear the Foraging Texas type gear, Cafe Press has it. And then also those of you who feel the love, there's also my Amazon wish list. Okay, so what time is it? 8:04. All right, let me throw two sponsors at you because these are important people. So, of course, the Foraging Texas website here. But I want to put out the Foraging Bandana by Wazoo Survival. So remember, this was created, it was a joint project between Wazoo and Nicole Appelian from Dr. Nicole Appelian from the History Channel's Alone, and of course me. So, and Wazoo Survival t-shirt. They are the ones that pay for the StreamYard account that I use every day to reach out to you all. So definitely give them some love. All right. And then also Arbor True. And let me get their link. So Arbor True. If you need a tree doctor, if you need tree removal, if you need tree pruning, if your neighbor is giving you the hairy eyeball because your tree is leaning over their property, you might want to talk to Arbor True. Not only are they, in my opinion, the best arborists out there in the area, Kingwood, and then anywhere else, Louisiana, Florida, California, they travel wherever the need is. But they also have the wonderful ability to diagnose tree diseases and figure out if there is a cure other than taking the tree down, and then proceed to apply that cure. Also, they have recently come up with a particular bacteria. After searching the world, they found a bacteria that pretty much converts all plants into nitrogen-fixing plants, as this bacteria binds to the roots and takes the nitrogen gas in the air and converts it into water-soluble nitrates, which the plant can then use as fertilizer. Pretty awesome. As a scientist, I find that absolutely amazing. Okay, so let me set the timer here somehow. I have no idea how to use my wife's timer. Whoop, it beeped. So we're assuming, okay, we're good. So let's jump into coffee because that's why you are here. And like I said, when most of the things tonight, when we are talking coffee, we are talking hot, brown, bitter fluids. Of them, only one actually has caffeine in it. And we'll start with that one because really that makes it the most important one. But the general use for these is, ranging from really, really good to, okay, I'm drinking it because there's absolutely nothing else. You can drink these straight, but they usually are used to extend the coffee. So make your true coffee last longer. Now, this is a pop quiz I always give in the classes because coffee substitutes are something I talk about in the classes. And so these plants are found all across North America, not just Texas, not just the Southwest, not just the Southeast, but really a lot of them go all across North America. Now, Yopon holly does not, but most of the others do. That being said, they were only ever used as a coffee substitute down in the South, not up in the North, even though they were there. They weren't used up north. And so the question is, why were these plants used as a coffee substitute down here in the South, but not up in the North? The answer is the Civil War. So during the Civil War, the southern ports were blockaded. Coffee could not come in. And so there was a desire to find something to satisfy that coffee craving. So a lot of experimentation, a lot of plants, a lot of roasting, a lot of boiling, a lot of this tastes terrible, to the point where they go, oh, you know what? That is drinkable in my current war-torn state. So, That's the big thing. War has an amazing effect on foods and drinks. And in the case of the United States, coffee. So let's jump in. And like I said, there is one that actually has caffeine. And I need to highlight this here. Dun, dun, dun. Everyone's favorite Yopon Holly. And let me just bring this up here. Yopon Holly. Oh, I wish I still had Merriwether to help me with this. Okay, so Yopon Holly, Iliax vomitoria. If you remember a few weeks ago, I did a big, long presentation on hollies and covered in great detail Yopon Holly. But this is the understory plant, kind of a shrubbery looking thing. The key take-home message from tonight's presentation is, where can you find Yopon Holly? And let me zoom in here. Okay, so if you are lucky enough to live in one of these green tinted counties, those are where the United States government believes Yopon Holly can be found. I can tell you from experience, Yopon Holly is found a bit more extensively than here. Basically, any of these counties next to green counties very likely have it somewhere. So, if you're looking for accuracy in plants and plant knowledge, the government isn't always the best place to look for it. So, all right. So Yopon Holly, the dried leaves, like I said, are the only naturally occurring source of caffeine. The interesting thing about them, though, is they don't have the bitterness of coffee, because the Yopon Holly by itself lacks tannins and other bitter compounds. So it actually has a very pleasant, gentle, one step away from sweet flavor if you just take the leaves and dry them. So to make more of a coffee substitute, you actually have to take the leaves and roast them some. And again, this will be a common theme throughout the evening, is roasting, roasting, roasting. So let's just get out of the way. How do you go about roasting these things? Well, after you've dried the leaves, you want to crush them up into basically coffee ground sized pieces, lay them out on a cookie sheet, thin layer, having them, stacked a little is okay, but you don't want, a half-inch thick of Yopon Holly, dried Yopon Holly leaves crushed up on the cookie sheet. Get your oven preheated to 400 degrees. Put the cookie sheet with the Yopon Holly, crushed up Yopon Holly leaves in there, and just toast it like 3 minutes. Take it out, brew some up, see if you like the flavor or not. If you do, if it's not dark enough, put it in more. If you decided you overcooked it, hopefully you have some unroasted Yopon Holly leaves and you can blend them together. So another thing about wild coffees is that they take some blending. And as we get into some of the nuts, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But generally, you don't want to roast all your material at once. You want to take about half of it and go about 3 minutes and then see what that tastes like, and then take some and roast more or roast less to blend them together to get the specific blend, the specific flavors you truly like. So they are very personalized coffees. Okay, Dwight, we are talking about Yopon Holly first off and foremost, because it is the only one that actually has caffeine. Okay, I need a little water. And yes, Kimberlyn, I saw your question and I am exhausted, but that doesn't stop me from having a good time, as any of my college buddies can attest to. Okay, Yopon Holly. Any questions about Yopon Holly? Otherwise, we're going to just keep going to chicory. Because when it comes to coffee substitutes, that's what people's minds generally think of right away, is the chicory. Don't do that. You know what? Actually, I can just click there. Okay. So chicory. So chicory is in the dandelion family. And if we scroll down to the root, it makes big roots, really big roots. So like, the biggest carrot type thing you've ever seen. So we're talking roots, upwards of almost 2 inches in diameter. Being in the dandelion family, the root is naturally bitter with all sorts of different, compounds in there that are actually good for the body. But that bitterness is what led people to it. The fact that it grows very prevalently as a weed, especially in disturbed areas, meant there was a lot of chicory with big roots, and roasted. It made a passable coffee. Café du Monde, their coffee there, they blend the chicory with the regular coffee. And personally, I think that's the best way to do it. But even then, from just a straight chicory or just straight chicory and coffee, it's still kind of harsh. So it has kind of a bitter flavor. It's not like, ooh, this is nice. It's like drinking it, get my caffeine. Let's go. So chicory root, and I just want to scroll down here. Okay, you notice that I only have the North America map. So these maps are from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And when you go to their website and you click on the map, you can then click on the individual state, and it brings it up and shows the states at the county level where the chicory is found, or any of the plants on the USD website. But if you actually click on the Texas state, it brings up the Texas state and just says, we know it's here, but we've never recorded where it's at. So my experiences with finding chicory in Texas is basically if you kind of make an arc, like from, say, Shreveport, Louisiana, over through Dallas and down kind of through the base of the Panhandle, kind of the northern Texas areas. There was some out in Big Bend, out in West Texas, out in Midland, places like that. So as far as East Texas, not as likely to find. South Texas, not as likely to find. More on the northern part of Texas. But like the Yopon holly, the way you prepare it, okay, stop. We'll finish chicory. So the way you prepare it is you peel it, chop it up into coffee bean size pieces, coffee bean, roast it, cookie sheet, 400 degrees, put half of it in there, 3 minutes or so, grind that up, make some coffee, see what you think, and kind of go longer or shorter and blend together, do your taste magic sort of stuff and come up with your custom blend. So really good that way as a way of, it's one of the most traditional ones for the coffee substitute, especially down here in the South. But a big part of that is more due to the ease and plentifulness of it rather than necessarily the taste. So I often describe it in the classes as kind of that cheap whiskey you bought when you're in college, when you couldn't afford the good stuff. Okay. Wow, 10 minutes we've already passed already. So I got to do my next two sponsors. And one of them's really, well, they're both really important. What am I saying? So Uncommon Bees, the source of all my bee-related type stuff. So I think now they're up to 70 some honeys infused with different herbs and spices for different uses for cooking and for health, maintaining proper health. They also have a whole bunch of beeswax compounds and surface treatment agents, skin surface, not like surfactants. So check them out. Also, they have probably the purest CBD products available. So another good thing to go for their work there. And if you order stuff between now and 9:30 tonight, so during the show and an hour and a half, a half hour afterwards, you get a 25% discount with the coupon code Forking Weeds. Otherwise, Forking Weeds the rest of the week gives you a 10% discount. But check them out. Great family. Love them to death. And just Wonderful, wonderful people. Okay, the other, even though I am the medicine man, a medicine man plant company, there are times when I need things that I have not yet developed or still in the process of developing. When I'm developing things, I'm developing hundreds of pounds of it, as opposed to a little packet or a little tin. So herbs is my go-to herbalist. Their walk-in store is located in Cushing, Texas, and I just put up the link to their website here. But what's great about them is he is a decades-trained herbalist. If you have an issue, he will set up like a Zoom consultation with you and discuss about the issues and custom blend something for you. He is the supplier of Merriwether's Battle Mage Tea, which is a series of adaptogens to help deal with stress and just general busy life. Because let me tell you, starting a business in the apocalypse is stressful. But check him out, and the Forking Weeds coupon there gets you a 15% discount on anything he has available from now until midnight tonight. So midnight Thursday. Definitely a great guy. Also, he actually is currently the only walk-in brick and mortar store seller of the Medicine Man stuff. So cool. All right. So we talked about chicory. Where's the cursor? Okay, there we go. So next up, is dandelion. And I know I'm going to just do this here. Okay, so dandelion root. Those of you who take my class, now I'm never going to be able to ask this question again. Okay, so the root of the dandelion, how long can it go? A dandelion root can go 14 feet down into the soil. That's why dandelions are so nutritious, because it's bringing all these minerals up from the 14-foot column of soil. So that's great. The roots, treated the same way as chicory, make an absolutely fantastic coffee. It is smooth. It is good. No caffeine, but chicory, I said, is the stuff you bought in college, the whiskey you bought in college. The dandelion root coffee is the high dollar whiskey you buy after you get married and have two incomes but don't have any kids yet. So yeah, very, very smooth, very, very, very delicious. To make one pot of coffee, the average pot of coffee takes about a gallon of the dandelion roots to collect the dandelion roots. So, and ideally, you want to get it before it produces the flowers, because once the dandelion produces the actual flower, it increases the bitterness as a kind of a defensive mechanism. So you want to seek out a gallon of dandelion root, peel it, chop it up into coffee bean sized pieces, roast them on the cookie sheet, 400 degrees. Take them out, grind them. Tanya, a regular blender works. Use it on like the chop setting. You don't want to turn it to a fine powder. Coffee grinder, ideally would work best, but with whatever you have, if it's a knife chopping, do that. But dandelion root coffee, it's good. It really is my favorite as far as ones that you don't have to blend with coffee. If you're going to blend it, blend it with some Yopon holly, get the caffeine there, or blend it with your coffee and extend your coffee. But I would recommend blending it with coffee worthy of the dandelion. All right, so dandelion roots, we are just starting in the Houston area. Dennis, you might find this funny if you're still here, Dennis. I hope you're still here, Dennis. Dandelions are a wintertime plant down here in Texas, as opposed to a summertime plant up in Minnesota where we grew up. I'm sure, Dennis, you probably had my mom's dandelion salad at some time. Oh, well. Yeah, so dandelion, collect the root, peel it, chop it up, roast it, grind it, make your coffee. Really, 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 really good. Okay. Not a lot of questions tonight. Oh, and as far as dandelions, according to the USD government, a lot of them in East Texas and some up in the Panhandle area and a few other places, but this is really where you're going to find them there. Okay, if there are no questions, let us move on. And hey, I'm right here. So Texas is so cool that we have our own dandelion. So the true dandelion, the one we were just talking about, that is actually imported from Europe. But here in Texas, we have, cursor, where'd my cursor go? There it is. It's time to make my cursor bigger, I think. So let me throw this up there. Okay, so here's the link to the Foraging Texas website. It looks like a dandelion. Most people go, it's a dandelion. Well, yes and no. I mean, it's in the same family, but it's not the same species. One of the ways to tell it apart is where we still have this big dandelion-like flower. You also have other flowers and even leaves on the stem. A true dandelion, it will have a rosette of leaves. It'll put up a stalk. There will be no leaves, no other flowers. There will just be one flower right at the top. So a true dandelion, the stalk has just one flower at the very top. The Texas dandelion has multiple flowers. You know, we can have some long stalks here. And then if you notice the stamen here, we have the dark stamen, whereas the dandelion, they're all the gold color. And then on the back, we have these tan-colored petals, sepals, going on there too. So for the most part, it looks like a dandelion. Here's the secret. If it looks like a dandelion and it's not groundsel, you know what? I'm not going to do it because the groundsel is kind of a mimic. But in general, if it looks like a dandelion, see if it's actually the Texas dandelion compared to my website. Where do you find it? All over. So especially down more in the south. So Tevin Gray, hey Mark, I have a community garden that hasn't had any Texas dandelion in years. Do you know anywhere to get seeds from? Hold on. Unsponsored thing, but if I was going to look, I don't know if Native American Seed has the Texas dandelion seed, but if anyone does, it would be them, Native American Seed. Okay, so the Texas dandelion, do I have a picture of the root? The root, I don't even have a picture of the root, do I? Nah. The root is big, not as long as the dandelion root, not as thick as the chicory. It's like about the diameter of the dandelion, but it only goes down maybe 6 feet, 5-6 feet. And really all you want from it is probably the top foot. Beyond that, it just gets too thin to once you start peeling it, it disappears. So do the same thing. The Texas dandelion, treat it like the chicory and the dandelion. I'm going to say the flavor, it's not as good as a true dandelion. It's kind of close to the chicory. It's a little on the harsh side. Maybe I over roasted it a little too much, but we'll see. I might have to play around a little more with it. That's why it's always good to only roast half of what you have and then use the other half to try and blend it in. All right. There was a good question here. Whoops. Okay. So is there a particular heat point where any of these substitutes will lose their quality or health benefits? I've heard water over 180 degrees can cause bitterness in teas. Same for these substitutes. Short answer, 425 degrees. So a lot of organic molecules start to break down once you get between 415 and 425. And when I say a lot, I mean like, 40% or so. There are some that are more durable than that. The 180 degrees for tea and tannins, tannic acid is quite water soluble. So it's probably not affecting the amount of tannic acid you're extracting per se. The 180 degrees is the temperature where you start to break down vitamin C. For every minute above 180 degrees Fahrenheit, the amount of vitamin C drops by 10%. So I'm wondering if someone applied the vitamin C degradation, heat degradation, and just said everything breaks down at that point. As a chemist, that's kind of my take on it, I would guess. But for the most part, the health benefits and so forth, they don't have a problem with the boiling water, with the roasting. Remember, you're only roasting for 3-4 minutes, not very long. And so that's not enough really for the heat to penetrate all the way through even. So I would say no, at those temperatures, you're going to lose very little of any of the benefits. Deanna, Texas Dandelion, aka cat's claw. I have not heard it by that common name. When I think of the plant cat's claw, that is one of the mimosas. So maybe, hence the importance of scientific names. Yay! Pyropappus passiflorus. Like I said, I don't speak Latin. Okay. Oh, you know what? I didn't start the timer. But let's see, we covered that. What's next? Oh, okay. Let's do sow thistle next, because this is another one of the dandelion mimics. All right. So sow thistle. Bum, bum, bum. Oops, there we go. Sow thistle. I don't know why I suddenly have the Queen song Bicycle. Oops, there we go. Thistle sow. Okay, first thing about the sow thistle, it is not a true thistle. It may look spiny and pointy, but those are like mock thorns or spines. They actually aren't sharp and pointy. The sow thistle is non-native. It is not from the US. It was actually grown as a garden vegetable over in Europe. And so it has a lot of uses, but the root, and I bet I don't have a picture of the root here. The root is, again, a big, thick one, more on par with the dandelion than the chicory. So remember, the chicory can be almost 2 inches across. The sow thistle, it can be bigger than an inch if you find some really older, mature ones. But they're fairly short. They're only going to be like maybe 10 inches to 12 inches long. Need some water. Drinking problem. That'll teach me to drink water. Okay, so more of, you can see kind of across the southern part of Texas, East Texas, South Texas, a little bit in the central hill country, and then out in the West Texas, Big Bend area is where you find this. But again, it looks kind of like the Texas dandelion in that you have leaves and flowers all coming off the stalk. And whereas the Texas dandelion, the center, the stamen had the black or dark brown stamen tips, the sow thistle just remained that same gold color. I'm trying to see if I got a good picture there. One of the identifying characteristics is the way the leaf actually wraps. So if you got the stem, like here's the leaf actually wraps around the stem. So if it looks like a dandelion with thorns and multiple flowers on the stalk, but the leaves kind of wrap all the way around the stalk, you got a sow thistle there. Flavor of the root. Again, more on the chicory side. So not as smooth and nice as the dandelion, a little more on the bitter side. But again, that's where you can start blending it and roasting some. But even the unroasted is going to be bitter. So this is where I would, take some good coffee and some cheap coffee and some of the roasted sow thistle root and blend those together and get a expanded coffee supply that way. Okay. Actually, no, I guess I can keep going for a while because I only got 2 more sponsors to talk about, and it's only 8:34. Okay. So looking, Native American Seeds online catalog turns up nothing for Texas Dandelion. Okay, bummer. So yeah, I don't know. The other place to look for seeds, especially for different sorts of weed seeds, is Etsy, the handmade website. There are a lot of people selling seeds, just seed packets on there of different things. So check out Etsy.com, ETSY.com, and see if they have any seeds on there. But otherwise, Tevin, I really don't know where you can find some. I know they're very common in Houston, but that may not be where you're from. So, okay, let's see. Any other questions? Whoops, I need to bring the cursor over here. Nope. Okay, now let's move on to another really interesting one. So cleavers. There we go. Okay. So what's interesting about cleavers, and let me just bring, so cleavers, aka sticky weed, aka Velcro weed. This is that stuff in the spring and late winter through spring, sticks to you, clings to you, sticky weed, Velcro weed. Eventually, it goes to seed. Do I have pictures of the seeds? No. Okay. This I started this website in 2008, and Cleavers was one of the first ones on there. So, towards the end of the Cleavers life, I guess this is the best one here. It will be covered with these tiny little clingy balls that cling to your socks, cling to your pets, cling to your sheep, your goats, whatever. So not only does the plant have that clinging ability, but so do the seeds. Now, it turns out the interesting thing about cleaver is it is actually in the same family as the true coffee bean. So it is the closest relative of coffee that we have here in Texas and probably North America. So there's always been a debate that the seeds should have caffeine in them because they are part of the coffee family, and so they should have, caffeine. No one has ever taken the time to actually test this. Just before I got laid off from the paint stripper company, the Workman's Friend, along with a bunch of other people, because the company was going under. But I was working with another laboratory that we used to do some tests, just like an HPLC, high pressure liquid chromatography, to see if there was any caffeine in the cleavers. But then that fell through because I was no longer working across the street from them. So maybe someday I can hook up with the chemist. Hey, is Nicole Anderson here? Or I bet ArborTrue. I need to talk to the people at ArborTrue. That could be something really cool there. Maybe they could do the testing. Or True Arbor. Oh, nope, ArborTrue. Okay. Anyway, yes. So cleavers related to coffee, believed to have caffeine, but no one's ever found any. And frankly, I drink a lot of cleaver tea. Whoops. It's a beautiful green color. And I personally, based on my knowledge of my body and everything, I would say if there's caffeine in the seeds, there's a very, very, very small amount. Now, this is from the leaves and the seeds. Again, to make the coffee, you want to collect just the seeds and toast them. You really don't have to grind them because they're already, really tiny. If you want to crush them a little, just break them open to increase the surface area that's exposed to the hot water. That might work, but don't grind them so small that you clog up the filter. So, oh yeah, Nicole, with your forestry stuff, do you know anyone that could do a caffeine analysis for me of the cleaver seeds? Because that could be cool. That would settle a lot of bets and be a worthwhile addition to the wild plant lore, which is my way of bribing you and rubbing up to your ego. Okay. So yeah, cleavers, like I said, related to coffee, but it would mainly be in the seeds, not in the leaves. Okay. All right. Next up, oops, cursor. Okay, this is one of my personal favorites. And that are mallow seeds, in particular the marshmallow, which has big seeds. Mallow. Okay, here we go. Okay. So it's in the hibiscus family. So here's the thing. The hibiscus seeds, okra seeds, the mallow seeds, they're all in the same family and can all be used this way. So okra seeds were used as a coffee substitute, during and after the Civil War, and by poor people in the South. The mallow, the hibiscus, all of them. And if we scrolling. Okay. So the flowers mature into these okra-looking pods, but they're short. And if you get them when they're still nice and tender, like soft okra, you just treat them like okra. But eventually, the pods dry, and they're fairly big, and they are absolutely loaded with seeds. And so these are the seeds that were then roasted, and they're a little bigger than coffee grounds, so they would be crushed up, but it doesn't take much to crush them up. But roast them, crush them, presto, okra flavored coffee. So again, just roast them. Because of their size, you might start the first batch, try roasting them 2 minutes. So the okra, hibiscus, mallow, roast just 2 minutes and give that a try, and then go up from there. Again, because they are so small, the heat transfers through them really quickly, and so they can scorch really easily. So, Michael Nguyen, tonight we are talking coffee substitute. So mint doesn't really fall in that category. Oh, cool, Nicole. You actually have a friend that may be able to help. Excellent. We will talk more about this. Okay, so okra, mallow, hibiscus, the seeds all make a passable coffee. Trying to think. Again, it's going to, if you roasted it right, it's going to be smoother than the chicory. It's not going to be as smooth as the dandelion. So it's not as good as dandelion, but way better than chicory, in my opinion. Oh, Tanya, how long to roast the cleaver seeds? Again, because the cleaver seeds are so small, just like a minute or two. Start short, because you can always roast longer, but the cleaver seeds, when it comes down to it, they're kind of a pain to collect a lot. And so I would not roast them, more than like a minute and a half at first. The cleaver seeds, so normally I'll roast things on a cookie sheet, but some things I will just get a pan hot and throw the seeds in there and stir them around quickly and then dump them out again. In China, I learned this technique where basically they have gravel and get the gravel really hot and then throw the nuts in there and roast the nuts in the gravel and then take the nuts out and you eat the nuts and they're really good. Okay, so mallow, small seeds, short roast time, and then give it a try. Thirsty. All right, it is 8:44, so let me throw up the last two sponsors. Okay, so Campcraft Outdoors. He reaches for his backpack, and let me get there because they also have a code. And there's actually, so Campcraft Outdoors, they have a number of us, like influencers that push their stuff. And like I said, I really like it. Let me just pop out here for a second. Because I'm rarely on the trail. I'm usually tearing through the underbrush, except now during hunting season, because that would be really foolish. So I don't want a plastic nylon pack. I need canvas that can handle the briars and everything tearing at it. So perfect pack. This, I've gone camping for 2 nights with this, with my hammock in here this time of year. So food, water pockets, all that, everything I need. Waxed, hand waxed to make it waterproof. And if you use the coupon code Foraging Texas, you get a 15% discount. But they have all sorts of really, really cool type camp stuff. Oh, wow, they got the survival scarf. Interesting. Okay. Water bottle carriers, different backpacks, food tins. I don't know if you can see it here. This is just a tube, and it comes with these big round tins on. I still actually have mine up in my pack. And so you can put different things in the tins. Like I have one that has the coffee and tea, one that has different seasoning, salt, pepper, cayenne pepper, that sort of stuff. One that just has flour for making flour-based stuff. And then one that is what's in there? Did I mention snacks? Anyway. Okay, so it comes with 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it actually comes with 5 of these tins. So, first aid and also fire starter. Cool. Yay, the brain pill. So Campcraft Outdoors, really, really awesome. And then also in this time of craziness, the Fear and Dread for survival gear. So they have honestly the best prices on the high quality gear for urban and suburban survival and wilderness survival, first aid kits, blankets, emergency blankets, and of course, firearms and ammo and stuff too. So great company. They are a small family owned business out in Vidor, Texas. So they are Texas based. You are supporting our state by shopping from them, and use the code Merriwether for any purchases on anything. $100 or more gets you 5% off. So sweet, as they say. So Fear and Dread. And they were the ones that donated the 2 first aid kits that I had given away a few months ago. Okay, Foraging Texas, back to them. Okay. So next one. Dun, dun, dun. Acorns. So acorns have a long history of being used as a coffee substitute. Now, here's the secret. Those of you who know about eating acorns know you got to leach them. And leaching them takes the tannic acid out. Usually you just need to run the crushed acorn meat, the meal, take it out of the shell, crush up the acorn some, and have water flowing over it for a number of hours. That extracts the tannic acid. And then you roast it. And the acorns are mostly starch. So the end result when you roast the acorn meal is something like a good roux. When you cook the flour and brown the flour to make a sauce. So the roux, it kind of has a similar flavor to, the leached acorns are basically taste like browned flour. So what's been found is if you want more of the bitterness in there, either don't leach them as much or mix leached and unleached together. Or ideally, you seek out the white acorns. So when we're talking oak trees, There are red oaks and there are white oaks. There's like two families of oaks. The red oaks, they produce acorns every year. The red oak leaf has very sharp, jagged lobes. The white oak produces acorns every other year, so skip a year. So it takes 2 years for the acorn to grow. The leaves are very rounded lobed rather than the sharp, jaggy ones. The white acorns have significantly less tannic acid in them. They still have some, but if you get a good white acorn tree, you pretty much just want to roast the acorn some and then make the coffee substitute with the unleached acorns. Okay, and I saw a question there. Alessandra. Oops. Yeah, so traditionally that is how the tannic acid was leached from the acorns, is they would take the acorn meal, put it in a woven basket or bag, and put that in running water. So a stream, a river, something like that. It needs to be running because it has to, like when you're making coffee, you need the water to pass through, take the tannic acid and take it away. If you just boil the nuts in general, you're just going to put the tannic acid in the water and an equilibrium sets up where it just goes back and forth between the acorns and the tannic acid. So a lot of the tannic acid remains in the acorns. So ideally you want to try and get the white acorns because they have the lowest amount of tannic acid, and just leach them a little, or just use them as is and just go with that bitterness. Okay, Charles, what about live oaks? So live oaks fall in the red oak family. They produce acorns every year. And frankly, the live oaks have the highest tannic acid concentration of pretty much any oak. So when it comes to live oak, which is the most common oak, at least in the Houston area, they suck as far as doing anything with them because it takes a lot of effort to leach all the tannic acid out. The other problem with the live oak is when you break open the acorn seed, the live oak acorn meat stays stuck to the shell. So you got to dig it out with a little pick. Whereas all the other acorns, when you split that shell, it's like breaking open a peanut and the acorn meat just falls out. So live oaks, you can make a coffee and starch and all that stuff from them, but it's a lot of work. And I would say look around for a white oak. And actually, Terrace, chinkapins are on my list of coffee substitutes. So we'll get there, and we'll have to race. Okay, Kathleen, yes, I've Mr. Coffee. I find to be a very effective way of removing the tannic acid from the crushed acorns. So you just fill the reservoir in the back. Basically, when you're making coffee, you are extracting the bitter compounds from the coffee beans and drinking that. In the case of leaching the acorns before you roast it to make coffee, you're leaching out the tannic acids the same way. You're running the hot water through it, and it's taking out the tannic acid. The first potful will be a very dark brown tea colored color. So the issue, though, is you want to make sure you have a big pot of boiling water to refill the reservoir right away, because the acorns, if you flush the hot water through them and then let them cool, when the hot water first flows over them, they expand some, but then when they cool, they shrink down really tight. And so the next blast of hot water doesn't make them expand fully. They just kind of shrug it off. And so it ends up being a lot longer. So you need a bunch of boiling water if you're doing the coffee pot thing, where you just keep reloading the coffee water reservoir to flush through. Hopefully that made sense. Okay. All right. I don't know if, okay, so yes, and let me throw this up here. And there are different ways of spelling chinkapin. But yeah, the roasted chinkapin, made coffee. These are a rare tree. These got pretty much wiped out by a tree disease. I know Terrence is working to bring them back, which is awesome, Terrence. Yes. But the chinkapin beech is another one of the beech trees, which are kind of look like the chinkapin in that they have this weird fuzzy shell around them. But the chinkapin tastes a lot better. So toasted chinkapin nuts make a coffee brew. For those of you in South Texas, and I posted this last week, September 28th. So Texas ebony, and let me just throw this up here. I don't have it on the Foraging Texas website yet. But if we zoom in, so this is me zooming in on the USD website. So the Texas ebony, this is truly just a South Texas sort of tree, but it's a gorgeous tree, produces tons and tons of these big seed pods with these big seeds inside the seed pod. And then that's what you use to make coffee from. Okay, we're running out of time, so I'm racing through right now. Okay, another one that catches people off guard. Okay, is the wild sunflower seeds. So the wild sunflowers, these are these weedy, small sunflowers you see growing all across Texas in the warm summer months. There's still some blooming yet. The seeds themselves are very, very tiny. I don't even have a picture of them, but the seeds are very, very tiny. So you basically just take the whole head. I like to run my thumb over it to break the little seeds off, toast the little seeds. The seeds, you're used to a sunflower seed where it has, fairly large seed. These have very tiny, tiny seeds. So instead of using the cookie sheet method, use the hot pan method where you get a pan hot and throw the seeds on there, stir them around just quickly, just for like a minute, and then start brewing with them and see what you get. So yeah, the wild sunflower seeds, and the sunflowers they're high in oil, which has its own benefits. All right. I know I ran through these last ones pretty quickly, but we only have like 3 minutes left. So are there any questions about coffee substitutes? If you go to Foraging Texas, along with 200 and some plants, one of the tags that you can click on is coffee. And it brings up, and I actually have to update this because I got some in there that I've discovered you can use for coffee that I need to update it, but it's a good starting point. Okay, so any questions? Oh, okay. So how does the wild sunflower taste? It's actually fairly smooth. It's not really bitter per se. It basically tastes like roasted sunflowers. So if you like roasted sunflowers and think drinking roasted sunflowers would be good, you'll probably like the sunflower seed coffee. And again, no caffeine or anything like that. And for the most part, these were used to extend the coffee rather than just drink as is. So, all right. Okay. Actually, no, I have not tried the carob. I've had other people mention it. Hey, let's look up and see. So, USDA carob. And okay, let's start here. That's not what I want. What is the scientific name of carob? Okay. So Centra sequilla, whatever. So USDA Here we go. Okay, St. John's bread. Okay, so according to the USDA, it is found, where is this? Pennsylvania, Arizona, and California. Now that's weird because I want to say up in Minneapolis, they planted carob trees, but as far as the US government is concerned, it is not found wild here. That's not to say that it couldn't be grown, as a landscaping plant or something like that. So, okay. Cool. All right. So 9 o'clock, about time to go. So I guess at this point, if you have any other questions, put them in there. If you're using Facebook, they will show up on the Facebook link for the video. If you are following along on YouTube, unfortunately, your comments disappear. Also, if you are on YouTube, please subscribe and give a thumbs up to the video. That helps me. And then, of course, on YouTube. Hey, I want to show you something. No, I don't. All right. I was just going to say, when you like a page, YouTube goes, okay, you like it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to show it to you unless the page owner spends money to broadcast it to everyone. The way to get around that is when you like a page, you have a choice of different ways of following it. And you just follow whenever, or show me it once a week, or make sure it's, if they post something new, I want to see that right away. So always, if they post something new, pop that up in the top of my feed. So it's really beneficial for me and for you to see everything I post by making sure you are follow and see first. You are given 30 different pages that you can see first. And so hopefully I'm one of them. All right, people. I need to do some other stuff now because it's only 9 o'clock. I got a lot of evening ahead of me to get things done. See the tribe tomorrow morning. Donut shop at the beginning of the world. A half hour of free-form conversation and social closening in this time of social distance. All right. Other than that, I have a great evening. Hug your families, hug your pets, do whatever you do that makes you happy. Till then, later.